but the gentleman has not been given an opportunity to respond, and that's been a consistent problem.
Mr. Neguse is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Attorney General. I want to go through a couple of your prior statements. On April 18th of 2019, you stated, quote, that the White House fully cooperated with the special counsel's investigation. You're aware of that?
Mm-hmm.
Today, yes or no, Mr. Barr, under the penalty of perjury, do you testify that that statement was true at the time you made it?
I thought it to be true at the time I made it. Why isn't it true?
I'll get to that, Mr. Barr.
I mean, does it have to do with quibbling?
I will get to that. Reclaiming my time, you answered the question.
Okay.
I have another question for you. On June 19th of 2020.
Actually, I need to answer that question.
Mr. Attorney General, you did answer the question.
No, you said under penalty of perjury. I'm going to answer the damn question. Okay?
You said the answer was yes, is what you said.
Well,
are you saying no?
I think what I was referring to, and I'd have to see the context of it, was the supplying of documents.
No, Mr. Attorney General, this statement was not limited to the supply of documents. You stated at a press conference, Mr. Attorney General, reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
I think that's what I was talking about.
On April 19th of 2019 that the White House fully cooperated with the special counsel's investigation. You knew when you made that statement that the president had not agreed to be interviewed by the special counsel. Now, on June 18th of this year, Mr. Attorney General,
I was referring to
on
the
June 18th,
production of documents.
Mr. Attorney General, on June 18th of this year, the Department of Justice issued a statement saying that Mr. Berman, a former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, had, quote, stepped down. You're aware of that statement being released by the department, correct?
Yes.
And do you testify today that that statement was true at the time the department issued it?
He may not have known it, but he was stepping down.
He may not have known that he was stepping down. That's your testimony today?
He was being removed.
Mr. Attorney General, this statement did not say that he was being removed. It did not say that he was being fired. It said that he was stepping down. Apparently, your testimony today is that that was, in fact, accurate when Mr. Berman has testified under oath to this committee that it, in fact, was not. Now, I want to talk about
No, he was removed. He was removed, and I wanted an opportunity to offer him another job.
I understand your rationalization for your answer, but the American people will let your answer speak for itself. Now, Mr. Attorney General, earlier this year, President Trump stated that he had planned to make what he described as Vice President's, quote, Ukraine dealings an issue on the campaign trail. Earlier this year, on February 10th, you stated that you had set up a, quote, intake process for submission of information, intake process, end quote, for submission of information relating to the Ukraine to the Justice Department, and that included, quote, these are your words, anything Mr. Giuliani might provide. Do you recall making those comments?
Something along those lines.
You'd concede there isn't anything standard about the Attorney General creating a special process for information related to advancing.
I disagree.
You disagree?
And I also made it clear that that is a vetting process that's available to anybody.
Is that right? Which U.S. attorney have you assigned to receive information from Vice President Biden's personal lawyers regarding President Trump?
Well, maybe if they had vetted the dossier, maybe if they vetted the dossier, we wouldn't have the whole
Mr. Attorney General, there's no U.S. attorney, of course, that you've appointed to do that because what you have done with respect to this process is unprecedented. Now,
it was cautionary so that we do not pollute the criminal investigative process with Ukrainian disinformation.
I will give you an opportunity to explain this intake process. My understanding is that you have directed.
You are going to give me an opportunity?
I intend to right now. The Eastern District of New York, the U.S. attorney responsible for that district, my understanding is that you have asked that U.S. attorney to be responsible for the intake process. Is that right?
No.
That's wrong? The U.S. attorney?
The U.S. attorney in the Eastern District was given oversight of all Ukrainian-related cases, any new cases involving Ukraine.
Correct.
We face a problem with Ukraine, which is unreliable information coming in. There's a lot of corruption there. It's a hall of mirrors.
Mr. Attorney General,
and I wanted to make sure that before we got into criminal proceedings, and this was to everyone's benefit, particularly Vice President Biden, that the information was scrubbed in conjunction with the intelligence community.
With the memo that you issued, which said any and all new matters relating to Ukraine shall be directed exclusively to the Eastern District of New York for investigation and appropriate handling, just as you've described right now. Now, of course, the U.S. attorney responsible in the Eastern District of New York was recently changed. My understanding is a few weeks ago, you announced that Seth Ducharme would be taking over to replace Rich Donahue. Mr. Ducharme, prior
Pittsburgh is in charge of the vetting.
Mr. Attorney General, prior to taking this position, Mr. Ducharme worked at Maine Department of Justice. Is that correct?
Yes, he was a counselor to me, and then he was the principal assistant deputy attorney general.
That's right. And rather than having the acting U.S. attorney, the deputy U.S. attorney rather, in that district,
they wanted to swap jobs.
You now have appointed your prior counsel to oversee that very same process. With that, I yield back my time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman yields back. Ms. McBath.
Mr. Chairman, before we go to Ms. McBath, could